the last day of the World Economic Forum Davos 2023, and we are back as a duo, Bronwyn and Alec. I'm so sorry I missed the first day.
Well, you got to tell the story. I mean, I had to do it solo on the first day, and there was a very good reason for it, though.
So Alec is forcing my hand on this one, but I had boarded the flight in Johannesburg, ready to come in and host that show with you. 3 a.m. in the morning, and we had just buckled up. I'd taken off my shoes, put on my socks, and the pilot came over the microphone to say that I'm afraid this plane is not going to Amsterdam. It was an Amsterdam routing, etc., through to Zurich. And everyone thought it was what a funny pilot. I mean, that's just he's got such a great sense of humor. The reality was that he came back and said, no, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to Amsterdam, and you're all going to have to deboard this flight, which we duly did because they had to fly in a part from Amsterdam before that flight was deemed safe. So I made it for the second day. I made it for the second show, Alec.
Yeah, and the moral of the story is when a Dutch person tells you a story, they don't joke too often. You know, they're not diplomats. They tell it straight. KLM, I'm not going to be flying that airline for a long time, because if they can take you off a plane at 3 a.m., why did they board you in the first place? Anyway.
And that was the question everyone was asking. Why did we board in the first place? Anyway, let's leave that, because we're not in the airline industry. But it does talk about a key theme, and that is the difficulty of moving across the African continent, which I often find if we're wanting to fly to Casablanca in Morocco, for instance, you've got to fly off to Paris first and then back onto the continent. And it's one of the key themes here about free movement of good services and people around Africa that needs to be addressed if we really are going to be that big opportunity for the African continental free trade area, which has been tabled here.
Well, it's quite interesting at the World Economic Forum, because you have your local issues, and then when you come here, you see that they're global issues, they're bigger issues. So that is part of this whole supply chain story. Ever since COVID, supply chains have become a critical part of every business's operation, and in fact, it's now the number one problem. They've put climate change to the side. Get your supply chain right. But climate change is in the supply chain. So South Africans who think that they're going to be able to export while you've got crummy supply chain issues, be aware that in Europe it's almost like BEE. You know, it's coming down from the top. You won't buy from these people if they don't have all the right credentials. And that was a message that came through here very, very strongly. Although at the moment, I suppose they're getting from anywhere they can, because there are so many issues in just getting the stuff. But it's normalizing. We're seeing inflation coming down. To me, the big thing, Bron, was that everybody's got problems and nobody knows the solutions. Session after session, I saw the raising of issues. For instance, the United States. There are two groups in the United States. They are the woke group and they are the MAGA group. Make America Great group. So those two, Make America Great Again. So it's like, it's like the Trumps and the woke. And you are now investing literally on the market in companies which are either woke or MAGA. They're splitting them up. They're giving them titles into one of the two. Now imagine the difficulty of an economy when you have people who are split in such a way and on such ideological grounds. What Donald Trump did to America was, well, he's given them a great divide, which seems very difficult to heal. So you look at that, you look at our problems in South Africa, and you say, okay, so we don't have electricity, but we've got the sunshine. I kid. But of course we got issues, but we don't have some of the problems that are elsewhere. And I think that's what Davos does for me. Every time I come here, I'm so insular, I'm so worried about my own little patch, my own little part of the world. But sometimes you see, I was with in a session with the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, and the guy looks like he's 32, 33.
He probably is 32 or 33.
And you just hear his stories. And he's the head of digital and how they're winning the war on using the digital side. But he talks real stories. You know, we have theoretical issues. We hear a lot of first world problems here. Those are real issues that are going on. So the world is in a bit of a mess. It's transitioning. The message I'll take home is it's going to take some time, 4 to 5 years, for us to get through this. So don't think you know anything, because you really know nothing. Nobody here knows anything, and these are supposedly the smartest in the world. So just be humble, listen, and adapt your business as you see things developing. That's the big message that I'm taking.
I think the other misperception is that Davos in some way sets policy, or everyone comes here, engages, and then a paper gets written on how the world needs to behave. That is not the case. This is a think tank. This is about collaboration. And as you say, it's very much about listening. Right now, nobody has the answers. But if you collate all of those thoughts from all over the world, you come out richer at the end of the day.
No, absolutely. And I find that by coming here, by seeing people, by learning and listening, you can join a few dots. You can't. It's like our world as journalists is like we're making jigsaw puzzles every day. We don't have the perfect information, but we can have a few pieces. Now, coming to Davos give you a heck of a lot more pieces on that jigsaw puzzle. But you absolutely, you couldn't put it better. A friend of ours said to Jeanette, to my wife, but why is the world in such a mess if the World Economic Forum is making policy? Well, the fact is the World Economic Forum isn't making policy. You can't blame them for a mess. In fact, you can say, thank goodness there's a World Economic Forum, because people are coming to see other countries that are in similar messes and maybe learning from their mistakes so that you don't make the same mistakes. But it isn't some organization that says this is what each country has to do. That just isn't the case. I mean, it's ridiculous to even think about that when you look at the diversity of the nations, and how nations don't. Well, we've got a couple of nations at war at the moment, and how nations don't often talk to each other, and maybe should be talking more.
So it has been a week of bilateral meetings. One of the CEOs that I spoke to said there are two ways that you can look at Davos. I'm sure there are many other ways, but certainly bilateral meetings. You can use this to come and engage with people from public, private sector, civil society all over the world. And secondly, knowledge communication. A lot of people are lucky enough to be able to strike the balance between the two. So they have their bilaterals with their customers and clients in the global context, and then they are also able to indulge in knowledge sessions. That's the right term, isn't it? Because it's a luxury.
Well, it's a priority. It's a necessity. You need to expand your mind continuously. The other thing is that if you do come back often, you get to see people that you just can't spend quality time with in your homeland. I last night, Ibrahim Patel, the trade minister, I got to at the South African party, which we got to talk about, because Brand South Africa did a fantastic job there. But he reminded me, we met each other here 30 years ago, when he was a trade unionist with Sakawu, with a tiny little office in Cape Town, and I was, I had hair, and I was working for the SABC. So it's 30 years this year. We came here in 1993.
Now, Alec, I have to share with everybody, this is your 18th, that's right, 1-8. Alec has been coming here for 18 years. So when we talk about a Davos veteran, this man.
Got the grey hairs.
So I've been coming here for 9 years. 9 years, and I feel like that makes me a Davos veteran as well.
No, of course it does make you a Davos veteran. And that's the value, is that each year that you come, you can kind of build on that knowledge base. I promise you, Bron, this year I've learned more than any previous year, because it's like you just perhaps learn how to listen better. You perhaps learn how little you know, and that there are so many smart people just about every room you go into. When you open your ears, you truly do realize that God gave us one mouth and 2 ears, so we should actually be trying to do that more often. Too often we talk and we think we know where we're going, we think we know the answers. But you come to this place, Nobel Prize winners, great scientists, top of the game in every area, and they don't know the answers. So if they don't know, how can we?
Brand South Africa and the dinner last night, you said we have to talk about it, and the team has been well received here.
Well, it was, 18 years. I've seen South Africa host soirees. Last night was so special. It wasn't over the top. They did not excessively spent taxpayer money. The decor was not done. In the old days, they used to have soirees here on a Saturday night, and I don't know how much money they would spend, but each country would try and outdo each other. What happened last night? It was in front of the plenary, the plenary hall, and a big hall. We had some incredible music, incredible food, and they brought a couple of young South Africans to do the music and the food, and it was us. It was our heart. It was jam-packed. There, many people from all over the world came to see good South African hospitality, and I think the multiplier effect of that is they're going to say, oh, I meant to go there in 2010 for the soccer, but never quite made it. But oh, no, these people, I want to go and see more of them. So well done to Brand South Africa. They did a top-notch job, and Chris Becker had all the wine. Brun, this Babylon touring went down a treat. And he also has got a non-alcoholic beverage called Bitter Lekker. And that's my new best drink for me.
Well, there we go, true South African style being celebrated as South Africa's country night. Alec, yesterday I said I was going to ask you for your soundbite. I hope you've been practicing. I want you to summarize the World Economic Forum in Davos 2023 in 30 seconds, sir.
The theme was a world fragmented. It certainly is. Coming here, though, is going to bring that fragmentation maybe a little closer together, and people will learn that, like we learned, that you're not alone, that the world is transitioning to something better, one hopes, in 4 to 5 years' time, on so many fronts. But it's going to take humility, it's going to take effort, and it's going to take an understanding that there is a better place to get to. There is hope. And we'll work through it like humanity's worked through everything else.
Wow, you've been practicing. Now you are the soundbite master. And that's the summary. Alec Hogg, Bronwyn Nielsen signing out from the World Economic Forum, Davos 2023, a collaboration between BizNews, the Nielsen Network, and Brand South Africa.